Okay, so do people still hate this year's WrestleMania? And I mean in terms of the builds, the storylines, what we've seen on TV every single week. Or has it turned a corner for you? Because some stories I feel like have actually gotten a lot better. Like Jey Uso versus Gunther has had a big standout moment. And we've also experienced Tiffany and Charlotte. That was a whole thing, wasn't it? We're starting off with Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. Now, this is confirmed or not. It's still kind of up in the air because Drew McIntyre is now a pirate. Well, he got actual glass or debris in his eye when he went through the car windshield in the attack by Damian Priest previously. There's been a graphic for them for their match. I hope it does happen. How has this build been? At first, kind of like, it feels like a lot of them for this year's Mania. I was hoping for a lot more for Drew McIntyre. I was thinking that him versus Priest originally was not really the best move. Based off the entire previous year, of Drew's whole build and feud with CM Punk, being a top guy, I was like, man, that guy deserves like a title shot or something that had a lot more meat to it. However, what I have seen in the last couple of weeks, and it's kudos to Priest and it's kudos to McIntyre, they're building something interesting and just like two guys that really just want to go after and kill each other. I feel like we've needed a little bit more from both of them in terms of, I don't know, maybe promos in the ring, but at the same time, you know what? Some stories are just really fun when they are just going to be two guys beating each other down. The windshield spot was great. It's still going to be a mixed bag if we are actually going to get this match because of Drew's potential sidelining injury with the eye. Man, if he gets healed up and he leans into it, like he just has the pirate look, that'd be such a killer look for Drew McIntyre. Also, I am not grading this thing being like it's a tier ranking thing. No, it's just, what do you feel? What do you feel about the Drew Priest feud? I have liked it now where we are today. It's a match that I'm excited for, and I feel like it's two guys that are out to prove something. Not getting some great grand story, even for Priest, who came off of everything with the Judgment Day, got over to SmackDown, and hasn't really done a whole heck of a lot. I think that these two have a lot to show at WrestleMania. Kind of one of those dark horse matches for me. Jade versus Naomi. This is probably one of those matches where I'm like, man, I've really enjoyed this feud. I was at Elimination Chamber when Jade came out, and the reception and the pop was huge. And that moment where she took out Naomi was awesome, and the facial expressions and how Bianca acted and reacted during that whole match was perfect. It set things up. This is exciting because it's going to be, I think, Jade's breakout. She's going to go off as a single start. It's like kind of now or never in my eyes. And you know what's even better has been Naomi's transformation into a heel. Proceed with caution. She's covered in caution tape every week. I really love Naomi's promo that she did where they did like the cinematic film thing. And the pre-film, that really went over really well, and it explained and justified her reasoning for attacking Jade. Not only that, Naomi's promo with Bianca and Jade coming out. Bianca and Naomi, I think that's a future match that you're going to want to have. But this feels like a brand new character for Naomi, not just doing all the smiling babyface stuff. Never really seen her as a full-out heel. So I just think that this has been done very well. It feels very simple, but that's not a bad thing. And it has had a nice progression. Probably also because it happened at Chamber and it didn't happen like 3 months prior to that and you were trying to drag this thing out. It's gone over well and it is a match I'm excited for. Okay, everyone's favorite match, most anticipated match of all time. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Should this have been like a mask versus mask? No. It should just be what it is. This could actually end up being a series of matches in my eyes. I don't know if this is going to end just straight up at WrestleMania where El Grande, come on, El Grande needs to win. He needs to get over. He's going to be bigger than Chad Gable. I think that this has just been fun, but it's mostly just relied on El Grande Americano and his whole aura and mystique of it all, and has carried this whole thing. And then the inclusion of Chad Gable, and he's been ill and he hasn't been able to show up at WrestleMania. And Rey's just mad all the time that El Grande is doing this stuff. So it's been one of those, it's just been a fun feud that they have built to get here. It's not overly serious, it's not overly complicated, but it has kind of, I don't know, come out of nowhere. but they've made it from a TV program to build it up to a match at WrestleMania. And again, I think that this is more of, we're going to take this feud and we're going to build off of it going into like Backlash and maybe even beyond that for a few months, so you can really keep building up El Grande Americano. I have actually liked it. There are some stuff that I don't like in general. Not everyone needs to be like in a title or anything like that, but it is kind of one of those things where it's like, well, if you didn't do this, what were you doing with Rey Mysterio? Hard to leave Rey off the card for WrestleMania. I'm curious just what they do in the match. I think that they will put on a great match together, and just really what the outcome will be. United States Championship, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. This one is not really that high on my list of enjoyment in terms of a build, because there isn't a story there. The story is more of Jacob and his journey to get to the US title. LA Knight has not had any real story. He's just been going through contenders. Is LA Knight over? Absolutely. Biggest pops that you get in the arenas. It's massive. Jacob Fatu as well. The more the story, I think, has been the wondering and will they, won't they of Solo and Jacob. I think this is one of those matches where, and feuds or stories, that it's going to be what happens at Mania and after Mania. It's going to have a domino effect. It's not a story that's ending, it's what's going to happen after that and continue things, more so for Solo and Jacob. But LA Knight and Jacob, they got what, I think 2 weeks or 2 SmackDowns left before WrestleMania. These two need to get in the ring, have some promos, have a confrontation together. There is no build or real story here, like I said, so it's been kind of average despite how great the talents are. So I think they'll make it a great match, but the Solo Jacob, that's the story I think here. And similar with the US title, the Intercontinental Championship, Fatal 4-Way, Braun Breaker, Dom Mysterio, Penta, Finn Balor, Fatal 4-Way for the IC title. I love a Fatal 4-Way. I know a lot of people don't like multi-man matches. Believe me, I don't want like every match to be multi-man or triple threats. I like Fatal 4-Ways more than triple threats. What about you? They could have added one more interesting element here, made it like an elimination Fatal 4-Way. This, like the US title in my eyes, has less to do with Braun Breaker and Penta, and it's more of the dynamic of Judgment Day, of Finn and Dom, and what's going to happen at Mania. Is Dom going to pick up the title? Is Finn going to pick up the title? And then what would be the relationship there? And I say that because I don't think Braun retains, and I don't think they want to put the title on Penta just yet. But I think it's to showcase Penta at WrestleMania. And Braun Breaker, he gets another Mania match. I think it's a great showcase for him as well. His spear is awesome. But I think the real story in there for this whole situation has been more about Judgment Day, which I'm okay with. The story of Judgment Day for the last 6 months, I don't even know now, guys, 6 or 8 months, has been very flat. We came off of Rhea winning the title against Liv. Damian Priest went to SmackDown, and it felt like everything was just kind of petering out a little bit. They could reinvigorate this whole thing if they do add a new member to Judgment Day, if they do have Dom, for example, win the title. But the story of this Fatal 4-Way IC title, it's been okay. It just has less to do with the IC title, and that's where I feel like the guy holding it, Braun Breaker, really hasn't had a prominent role in any of this and going into this Fatal 4-Way. He doesn't get on the microphone to do long, extensive promos. Sure, he's had matches and moments with Penta and all the guys, but you know what I mean? It's less to do with the IC title and Braun, but I think we're more focused on Dom Mysterio and Finn and what's going to play out there. Just as a side prediction, I do think Dom is going to get that title. Next up, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. So this goes back to the Royal Rumble. AJ got eliminated. They teased the setup. We've had the promos in the ring. We've had the beatdowns. I'm glad AJ Styles is back in time after injuries to get to WrestleMania. And I think the match between Logan Paul and Styles will be pretty good on paper. Styles clash, phenomenal forearms, probably a springboard to the outside. Logan Paul will do a bunch of flips. He'll probably have a prime bottle guest guy come out to do a distraction spot. Has the build in the feud though been anything substantial? In my eyes, no. It's barely been anything. And the thing is too, is like Logan Paul said, I believe months ago, that he was going to be full-time with WWE, that he was going to be there all the time. That is very much not the case. He still follows kind of the same schedule, and the sporadic appearances I think have really hurt, especially in WrestleMania season, when, okay, we don't need him there every single week, but they haven't done anything like they did last year where it was Paul versus LA Knight, and they had things like LA Knight goes to his house and he's in the pool. Those kinds of things to help elevate the story a little bit, despite Logan Paul not being on TV every single week. Logan Paul gets great heat, he gets booed by the crowd a ton, and you got the beloved AJ Styles, so the dynamic works. I just feel like they should be doing more. Like now you got AJ who's gonna be on Raw having a match with Karrion Kross. Well, I assume Logan Paul is gonna come in and interfere in that and make it a schmoz. Like I don't really understand what the whole motivation for this feud is, other than it's just I'm better than you, no, I'm better than you, let's have a match. So it's okay. Okay, I can't wait to talk about this next one, because it's been flat, boring, and then not. And one of the most interesting and curious builds and outcomes that I'm waiting to see. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. It's just one of those things, I just want to see what happens. The build's been awful. It's been non-existent. Charlotte has still just never really clearly explained why she won the Royal Rumble to then challenge Tiffany versus going after Rhea, just in this context of storyline. It's just always been like, you're trying to be me and I'm better than you and I'm the queen and you're the young champ and I'm gonna beat you. If we rewind the tape a bit and go back to when Charlotte was getting the vignettes of her return, she was the only person that was getting vignettes on the women's side for the women's Royal Rumble, that her big return was coming, instead of doing it like a surprise, which led, I think, a lot of people to think, okay, well, Charlotte's winning the Rumble because she's the only one they're really focusing on here. Sure enough, she came out and she did it. But there was a little bit of confusion in there too, because the builds and the vignettes and everything were her kind of like Ric Flair, like jet flying and the queen and the gold. And she wins the Royal Rumble, smiling as a babyface. And even after that, initially coming off as trying to be, I guess, a babyface. And Tiffany was getting more and more cheers and very much a babyface because she just came off of everything with Nia Jax. So right out of the gate, I thought it was just confusing from storytelling perspective of like, well, who am I supposed to cheer and who am I supposed to boo? If they wanted Charlotte originally to be more of the babyface, I think that they should have changed the vignettes and how they approached her return. You should have done it much more like Cody Rhodes, where you had her rehabbing the injury. Show us, do the Triple H quad tear returns. They left as a giant heel and they went through this injury and it almost ended their career, and you do the vignettes and the build up of them rehabbing and then coming back to this big moment. It's very much in line with Triple H. Even Cody Rhodes, injury, Royal Rumble, wins the Rumble, goes to Mania. If they wanted Charlotte to be the babyface, that's how I think they could have gotten her over in that light. Putting Charlotte as a babyface in general has never really worked out in my eyes. We had a couple of weeks where Charlotte was beating down Tiffany, and you just had a couple of promo segments, and then you had the side-by-side ESPN style thing where their sit-down interview, and that went off the rails. That was cringy. It didn't captivate anything. It still left things unanswered, and it just really wasn't done well. So then they took it up a notch, right? And then we got what is now like segment of the year. You had these two in the ring and you had Wade Barrett in there as like the referee. These two took shots at each other. Charlotte seemed kerfuffled from the crowd and how they were reacting to her and not being able to get through her lines. Tiffany seemed awkward and lacked confidence and looked scripted and trying to just remember her lines. The pacing and the hair flipping and the whole thing, it was a mess. And then they take direct shots at each other that seemed like they were going off script. Charlotte interfering and overstepping in the lines of what Tiffany was trying to say to get her spots in. The whole thing was an absolute disaster. And now, as we sit for WrestleMania, I'm just curious to see. This is one of my most anticipated matches, only because I want to see, does it go off the rails? I don't think it will. I kind of feel like this will deliver in the ring from a sports entertainment standpoint, but there is, I think, so many of us, maybe you're like me, I'm just gonna be sitting there with my bag of chips and my whiskey, and I'm just gonna be like, I want to see if they do anything in this match that kind of goes the other way, like a slap, or they don't sell for something. Is Tiffany gonna retain and Charlotte just quickly rolls out of the ring and just walks to the back like it's over and we don't see her for 6 months? The build has been terrible. It's been very lukewarm. It hasn't made much sense. The motivation isn't there. And it feels like you could have just not done Charlotte. You could have picked somebody else to go after Tiffany. So I can't wait for this now. It's one of my more anticipated matchups, just to see how it falls apart. All right, next up, let's talk about this Gunther Jey Uso match. By the way, guys, if you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, because I can see in the YouTube stats that like over 50% of you watch the videos but don't hit the sub button. It helps us grow. We're trying to get the 50K subs by WrestleMania. It's a lofty goal, but hope you have your support. And if not, I'm glad you enjoyed the video. Gunther versus Jey has been meh. I think it's been because it's been going on for so long. They've had matches prior to the Royal Rumble setup with Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. We had Saturday night's main event. It has been dragging for so very, very long. However, I think they turned the corner when they did the giant Jimmy beatdown, and Jey is zip tied. Gunther's got the blood all over him. Jimmy is bleeding all over the place. That was the moment for me that went, finally. They finally figured out how to tell this story. Unfortunately, it had been weeks prior where there was a lack of build, a lack of story. You had Jey just going into matches against A-Town Down Under, which made no sense. You had Gunther taking on Tozawa, trying to tell a Jey lack of confidence thing, Gunther not being very vicious. It was so flat once they hit the Royal Rumble and they started to try to build this thing. Only until they did the Jimmy beatdown, they incorporated that, it felt better. It felt like we got Jey into a point of his character where it felt more like Bloodline Jey. You know, he's got to avenge his brother. And you got the big bad dominant guy champion in Gunther that is just, you can't mess with. He's gonna dominate and he's got no chance of beating him. Kind of like a Roman Reigns. So I'm glad that they went in that direction. And then even recently, the promo of Jey in the ring with Gunther, I thought it went over very well. I thought that promo was what you needed coming off of the beatdown. And I think Gunther did a great job selling all of that because you didn't have him talking and you had it more facial expressions and him going from laughing it off like Gunther does to kind of questioning and sitting back a little bit more of like, okay, Jey is serious. What have I done? How am I going to take this guy out? So now there's more intrigue. The build has been just kind of 50-50. Like if you just put that into a little capsule of the last 2 weeks, you'd probably say this has been great. Like if we had the Rumble and then a Jey promo 1 week with a Gunther beatdown, the next week was this whole Jimmy thing that fell apart, and then this current promo that Jey did. If that was the last 4 weeks, this could have been main evented like night one if they had it going that way. But I think because we had so many weeks of nothing happening and not a lot making sense, and it just felt like, oh, this is going lower and lower on the card. You also have the dominance of Cody and John Cena on Raw. That title from the other show is dominating the world title from the other show. All of these factors, I think, played into where the storyline has been very lukewarm, but now it's starting to get exciting. As an early prediction, I still think that we're going to end up with Jey at the end of that match, yeeting the whole crowd and winning the world title. I just think that that's what the direction needs to be. So has it been great? No, but I'm wanting to see how they finish this. How do they get to the finish line? So will it be remembered as maybe a little bit better than what we thought in the moment? Now, a couple other matches that we don't know just yet at the time of this recording. The WWE Tag Team titles, where you have Motor City Machine Guns. You got the Street Profits as the tag champions. They are #1 contenders, the Machine Guns are, but we don't know if that match is for WrestleMania or if it's a SmackDown before, or if they're going to get a multi-man match that they're going to do at WrestleMania. We don't know what's going on with those titles. We do know that we have a women's gauntlet match happening on SmackDown to determine #1 contenders for Liv and Raquel. I think Lyra and Bayley might have a shot at there. I hope Secret Hervis actually wins that thing. But I kind of feel like it would be Bayley and Lyra to get to WrestleMania against those two. There's no stories there. The SmackDown tag titles, there is a story because of all the teams that have been involved for months, and I think they've done a good job. So hopefully they make it to the card. The other one is the Raw, the World Tag Team titles with War Raiders and New Day. That last match ended in a DQ. Feels like they are going to get to WrestleMania. I hope that is much more of a no DQ, maybe even a tables match. Do something where they've done it previously on Raw, where with War Raiders and even New Day, where they've gone like pretty hardcore with stuff, get kendo sticks out, make it like just a little bit more of a grueling match and give New Day the win. Have any of those stories been that captivating? And no. For the world title, tag titles, I just want New Day to get those titles because I think they need to get more heat built up again. After that Big E segment, things really died down. I want them to get those titles and then make them big dominant heels. Okay, the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, the triple threat, Bianca, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. This has been okay. Kind of like Jimmy and Gunther for me, where it's been weeks and weeks of like slow, repetitive stuff. Like how many times do we have contract signings? How many times do we have all of the three of them just in the ring, Adam Pearce and talking through it, Rhea Ripley trying to get to the belt after she lost to Io Sky. Lately, it's been good, and I think just you have a lot of star power in there to carry this thing. I think Bianca's been great in it, but the continuous like repetition of Pie facing Io every week, I'm like, okay, I get it, but can you do something different? Stretching it out that, well, it hasn't been announced as a triple threat until last week's Raw. I get it. You need to get there eventually, but we've kind of known that that's the direction. It's like, can you just confirm it and then try to tell a more interesting story with the three of them going into Mania? I think it's one of those things where after WrestleMania, it could be very interesting because I hope that Bianca wins so I could tell a really cool story where Rhea maybe is more of a shell of herself. Maybe she's unsure. because she's been so just desperate to get into this match. She's finally done it. Maybe she gets a little bit more on the bad guy side, maybe. The beatdown segments have been good, a little clunky along the way, I feel, especially with that much star power between all three of them. Has it turned a corner? I think, you know what, let's see how it plays out for the last 2 weeks, 2 episodes of Raw, where we're at, and can they land this thing getting into Mania? All right, your night 1 main event, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. And the wise man Paul Heyman, he's got the favor and he's gonna go with CM Punk, but Seth Rollins now also wants favor or gets favor from Paul Heyman, possibly, maybe not. And Roman Reigns is just chill Roman. Feels like a lot of the builds, for me anyways, and I'm a big fan of all 3 guys. For a while, I felt like this really should be Roman versus Punk, and I don't know what to do with Seth Rollins. Felt like it was going on a very long time. Didn't know if it was gonna really fit well as a main event for WrestleMania. So I thought, well, the Royal Rumble winners, either of them, should go into that spot. But clearly, that is no. That especially Tiffany and Charlotte, no main event there. So this made sense as the main event now that things have played through. Have I loved all of it? No. I think there's been too many times of, hey, Seth comes out to talk just to say something's gonna happen next week. Punk doing it too, Roman not being there. And then the segments where you do have all of them together, they've been very good. I didn't really enjoy the one first beatdown brawl where everyone just got their chance to point at the WrestleMania sign. I thought that was cheesy. I really liked the Paul Heyman CM Punk favor reveal, the contract signing and Roman's attitude towards all of it. I thought those things did very good. And the most recent promo between Seth and Paul Heyman and the main event segment there, I thought that was very well done. And I am more interested in Seth Rollins now in this whole feud. I think like a lot of people kind of feeling, yeah, Seth should maybe win this thing. And it could be cool if there was a big twist at the end. Everyone is kind of even. And now I think for the final episodes of Raw to tighten this thing up, you need a lot of that dynamic between Paul Heyman, Roman, Punk, and the curious kind of X factor of Seth Rollins in there. So for me, it's heated up because we have been building this thing since, you know, Seth and Punk were going at it and Raw on Netflix and having that match. Royal Rumble happened, the eliminations. Maybe it's a little hard when you can't have the guys wrestling, you know, every single week. You got Roman Reigns who's not there all the time. But I don't know about you, but for me, the curiosity factor is there for that main event, what the finish, what the ending to that is, what happens going out of WrestleMania. And finally, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, the undisputed championship. John Cena turned heel. Let's talk about this whole thing. How has this build been for you? I, like a lot of the feuds, I have kind of gone from nice big highs with it and flattened out a little bit all along the way, all along the road to WrestleMania. Because we have to go back to like the Royal Rumble. Jey and John were the final 2 in the Rumble. Jey wins the Royal Rumble in a huge moment, but then Cody is left standing there, not with an opponent. Before Chamber, we had The Rock showing up, wanting the soul of Cody Rhodes, making it very confusing and not clear as to what that was. The Chamber happens, Cena wins, beats Punk, comes out, The Rock is there, Cena turns heel, one of the biggest moments in WWE history, one of the biggest turns of all time. That was epic, so everyone was waiting to see what was John Cena going to do as a heel. What did we do? Did we wait like 2 weeks, I think, where we had Cody coming out all beat up from Travis Scott and John Cena, and he's all battered and bruised. That's where I felt like there was a lull, because you had the giant epic encounter of Cena and Cody and Cena turning heel, and then we had no John Cena. But hey, some of you might say that's part of the character dummy because he's not giving you what you want. That was John Cena's whole thesis there. So be it. But at least from a TV watching standpoint, I didn't find it very enthralling and captivating because you had Cody just coming out like twice, just being, darn you, John Cena, but he's got no one to talk to. John Cena then gives us his first heel promo. Thought it was great. He yelled out a kid at the crowd. It was entertaining. The crowd booed him. It was effective. And then for the last couple of weeks, we had John and Cody in the ring. John Cena doing 3 promos in total. Cody coming out for the last one, delivering a Crossroads. And now I believe John Cena is going to be on the Go Home SmackDown before WrestleMania, which was not previously announced. I think the Crossroads was supposed to be the last one, but now all of a sudden John Cena is going to show up one more time, which I think is very necessary. How has this whole thing built though? Kind of feels like a tale of 2 stories in here, because you have John Cena's whole story arc of being a heel, wanting that 17th title, doing whatever he can, justifying everything. And then you have Cody Rhodes just kind of over there waiting for his opponent to be announced. I haven't been very captivated with Cody I think John Cena is obviously interesting because it's something we haven't seen in a very, very long time. The two of them in the ring has been great. The promos have been great. I'm left wanting more, which is a good thing, but it's your main event of night 2. I think it could and still can use a little bit more and squeeze a little more juice out of it. I think because I'm looking at last year and how kind of crazy and epic and confusing and wild all of that build was with Cody, where The Rock was involved. The beatdown and the rain and the bus was just epic. You had the Las Vegas segment and doing the tag team stuff. You had the whole build every week and you had The Rock involved. You had The Rock on social media, cutting promos there. You were doing so many and there were a lot of moving pieces every week that you wanted to see on top of Roman Reigns, the bloodline, all of it leading to WrestleMania 40. This is different. And different isn't necessarily bad, but I feel for me, it's missing that kind of like John Cena doing an epic beatdown of Cody Rhodes. Maybe we are gonna get that on the go home. We just don't know. And again, it's John Cena's MO. You don't get what you want. I found it interesting that Cena didn't change his character in terms of he didn't shave his head, grow a beard, show up in a suit. Everything was still John Cena, again, playing into what his thesis is with this of, I'm not gonna give you those things because you don't deserve it. People want me to turn heel and do everything different. I'm not going to. So the actual match between Cody and Cena, I think will be interesting. Does he change his style? Probably not. And how will it finish? Like we said with other matches, will he win the title? Will The Rock be involved? Will anything else happen that's going to surprise us? Will Cody retain? If you just put it in a vacuum and say, how is the build to WrestleMania? What would you grade it, score it, or what are your impressions of it? I don't think it's been the best build to WrestleMania or of any WrestleMania. I think they missed the mark on a lot of stuff like we've outlined. And I think they've turned the corner on a lot of stuff too. The most important question is, what do you think? And if you guys like this video, click this one here. We're talking about everybody that could be missing WrestleMania from injuries or just not being on the card at all. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel and have a great day. See ya.